We're getting reports of breaking news.
Hold on. We're getting reports of breaking news.
We're gonna need to send this
to Zealand. Are you there? Yeah, I'm here. And we've got some breaking news. We're going to get you all caught up on Manchester United suing Football Manager. Big stuff on the other side of the break. Welcome to the newsroom, the Zealand newsroom, where we're going to break down some of the most important news that's happened to Football Manager in a long time. This is a video that I was kind of afraid to make because you may or may not know I've never worked with SI, SEGA, Football Manager, and I want to at some point in the future, so I don't want to put myself in the middle of a legal battle. But I do think it's important for you all to know what is happening and to sort out all of the stuff you might be hearing, what's true, what's not true, and basically what we know so far about what is happening with Football Manager and Manchester United and why it's happening between Football Manager and Manchester United. Now, some of you may know or remember that Manchester United was the club leading the charge about taking down or editing logo packs that are widely released on websites like FM Scout, FMBase, and a bunch of different websites in different languages all over the world. This is just by going into the files of the game. Somebody personally creates a logo pack for their use and then gives it to other people for free. Some people get clout from doing this, certain numbers of downloads, and they get their name lifted up by it. At a certain point, Manchester United has apparently become aware of this trend and began to send cease and desist letters to a number of creators, some of which I happened to know. They received these cease and desist letters, and that's why if you do go and download logo packs, you might find that Manchester United's logo is not in them, or that the logo pack landscape as a whole has really changed, because obviously these creators that just kind of do it for fun to begin with got a little scared by, a $1 billion company as the club sending them a cease and desist letter. You don't really have the resources to fight that. Now, this is a large contributing reason, this whole underground network of logo packs, and then there's face packs and real name fixes as well. That whole thing is a good reason why Football Manager typically stays very well away from fan sites like FMBase, FM Scout, and that sort of thing, because they do not want to associate themselves with the violation of these trademarks at all. They don't want to be seen as encouraging it, because that is unquestionably illegal. For the creators I talked to at the time while this was happening, it's a bit of uncharted territory. Nobody's ever encountered this sort of problem. I mean, the game's been out since 1992, the first version of Championship Manager, and this sort of modding has been active on it for a long time. But as the world gets more digital, people become more and more protective of their copyright. That's a given now. This brings us up to the 22nd of May, 2020. Good old Zealand's about to have wisdom teeth surgery like the next day, and then all of a sudden the news breaks that Football Manager is actually being sued, and Sports Interactive and SEGA, as you go up the chain of command, being sued by Manchester United for a couple of different things. The basic premise of the lawsuit from Manchester United is that Football Manager is significantly infringing its trademark throughout the game, but the argument has a couple of different pieces. The first most important part of the argument for Manchester United is that Football Manager uses the name Manchester United, which Football Manager does not have the rights to use, according to Manchester United. The argument from the Red Devils legal team is that just using the name, which they call one of the most recognizable name brands in the world, using Manchester United is an infringement on copyright. And then pairing Manchester United, the name, with the badge that comes in the basic Football Manager game, which is essentially like a red shield with a couple of stripes on it, using that badge with the name devalues the trademark. So that is the second part of the argument that Manchester United's trying to make. It's they use the name a lot, and the name is a trademark, and then they're devaluing the trademark by putting the crest on it. But not like the actual crest. The fake crest is devaluing the name. Or as Manchester United puts it, deprives the registered proprietor of its rights to have the club crest licensed. So they feel like that they are deprived of their rights to license the club crest because you have a fairly recognizable Manchester United in Football Manager. The Football Manager, according to The Guardian, clapped back pretty well, saying that, look, this has been in use the same way since 1992, with the client aware of it, or the claimant aware of it. I know legal jargon. And this has gone on with awareness and, quote, without complaint from the claimant. SI and SEGA and Football Manager and all entities herein enclosed have responded by saying that this is Manchester United attempting to limit legitimate competition in the video game field by preventing even the use of the name Manchester United. In an open hearing that The Guardian was able to attend, Manchester United said, let me make sure I get this quote right, consumers expect to see the club crest next to the name Manchester United, and this failure to do so amounts to wrongful use of the name. It was then brought up in the courtroom to include allegations of, again, make sure I get this right, the practice of supplying patches or mods, essentially downloadable files containing replica trademarks, which consumers then incorporate into the game. Now, what I get from this quote is that they are accusing SI, Football Manager, and SEGA of actually supplying these packs, which I just basically understand as false. But you can see what Manchester United's legal team is going for. They're trying to pin that on them too, in front of a judge that I'm assuming doesn't know how computer files work. Manchester United went on to argue that SI and SEGA actively promoted the use of these patches in the game and benefited from them because they then didn't need to pay for the licensing trademark. Now, the last part, there's certainly no way to argue against it, but the act of actively promoting the inclusion of these patches is going to be an interesting one to prove. I don't really know how that argument plays out. They definitely didn't encourage it in my personal experience, but that's obviously a limited scope. But let's get to my favorite part of the story, because this is where Sports Interactive and SEGA really clap back hard. The lawyer in this case, some dude named Wyand, W-Y-A-N-D, argued that the simplified club badge used in the game was one of 4 generic templates, and went on to say that it very clearly indicates that the game does not have the badge of Manchester United included, licensed. He went on to say that, quote, it would amount to an unreasonable restraint on the right to freedom of expression to restrain the use of the words Manchester United to refer to a team in a computer game. And that's really where it seems the question of this case will fall. But there's one extra tidbit that I just absolutely love to show that Manchester United is, it seems, reaching a little bit here in this lawsuit. And that is the big argument from SEGA, SI, and Football Manager, is that Manchester United's been aware of this for a long time and has actively participated and interacted with all of these companies that work on Football Manager since its inception. The lawyer for Football Manager pointed out that copies of the game, this is a quote, copies of the game have also been sent by SI to a number of officials and players at the club for a number of years, and there have been a number of positive press comments and tweets about the game by them. And other articles on like thegoal.com have gone on to elaborate that this was actually for scouting purposes at times, that Football Manager would interact with Manchester United, they would be contacted by Manchester United and give them the game to maybe have a few looks at players just before the game came out, like an early access sort of deal at the database that Football Manager was putting together, which means that it's impossible to argue that Manchester United wasn't aware of the use of its name in the game since its inception. And he says as much. Further, the claimant's staff working in data analytics and scouting have contacted SI on various occasions asking for access to the database for scouting and research purposes. That's a quote! So to sum up, Manchester United is essentially suing Football Manager because it's using the name Manchester United, and then it's tacking on the claims that using the name Manchester United next to an obviously generic template logo devalues the brand name, and that it also is going after Football Manager for allegedly encouraging the use of logo packs, the sorts of things like real name fixes and that, which Football Manager has actively avoided encouraging for just such reason as this, because that would be illegal. And Football Manager's defense is essentially this quote: "The claimant has acquiesced in the use by the defendants of the name Manchester United Football Team in the Football Manager game for some time and cannot now complain of such use." Now, out of the three sources I read putting together this kind of news report, which were IGN, The Guardian, and Goal actually goes out of the way to present accurate financial information on the setup of Manchester United, which they insinuate is then connected to the lawsuit itself. They announced that their net debt is now £429 million. That's a lot. You're certainly, I don't know what they're asking for in this case. None of those details have been made public. And of course, the case is ongoing. But that is seemingly seen by Goal.com as a contributing factor to all of this. And we just have to wait and see how this falls, where it falls. But I told you I'd leave my opinion out of it. Come hang out with me on stream if you want to hear my opinion on all this. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. But this video was meant to update you on what is happening, why it's happening, and I think we've achieved our goal. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram for updates on these sort of things. And our lovely editor, Reece, has some awesome new stuff coming out. He's got a brand new YouTube channel. Please check it out in the description as well. He's bounced his ideas off me, and it's going to be really cool. I'm going to watch them because I want to learn to edit like him. And Ed Sealand signing off from the news desk here at our new fancy place. Because truth of the matter is, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know the letter of the law. Manchester United could be right, and Football Manager could be right. It could just be up to the judge, and they could both kind of be right. But one thing I do know is good luck to the lawyers. They have to do a lot of reading, and their eyesight goes bad, and it's just brutal out there. Wait. I do have one hope. I hope I get to be able to play Football Manager for a long time. That's it. That's all I hope. We're good.
We'll have to wait for their glory, because it's England